Hi guys, Larissa Davis, the Soul Path artist here. It's been a long time since I've done any videos and I thought, you know what, it's just about time to do it because I've been doing a lot of work on self-worth, which has been very fruitful. I've been writing about it a little bit on my blog, so you probably, I don't know if you've had your own self-worth journeys. It might be fun for you to see what's been going on with me. I'd love to hear how self-worth has manifested in your life. For me, it's been about growing my business, and I realized that I was hitting a wall, and I didn't really know what that wall was, what was causing it. And it was kind of frustrating because in my other career as a graphic designer, work comes very easily. I've never had to, I would say with very few exceptions, I haven't had to peddle that business. That business has come, money has flowed in that route. And so I thought that when I changed and found my soul path and was following that, hi Agnieszka, how are you? That I was just talking about self-worth. I've been on a journey of understanding the negative messaging that's been imprinted, the beliefs, the thoughts, patterns in myself about my self-worth. And so when I transitioned or began this transition to this passion that I have for doing this work, this soul path work, for sharing this information with the world, with my community, I thought, hey, this is just gonna all fall into place. I mean, it all worked out perfectly when I was doing graphic design, and I was miserable most of the time when I was doing graphic design, so why wouldn't this work out perfectly? And it's not been the case, and I think things that have been coming to me through various sources have been pointing to self-worth as being a core and fundamental stumbling block and barrier to me stepping into what I envision for myself. And I have noticed the amazing, since that was brought to my awareness, I've started to pay more attention to my thoughts and the feelings of lack and feelings of how things are always running out and how I don't have enough money, and just it's a constant message that my brain is just in the groove. You know, I've shared with you, and many of you know from your own journeys that, hey Kate, how are you? And that I'm talking about self-worth. So I've just become very aware of these patterns of thought and these patterns of belief and these stories that I've told myself. And not even aware necessarily of where all these stories came from. But, you know, once you have a story that you replay in your head over and over again, you do actually change your brain patterns. You create pathways in your brain. And this is what I teach about. So it's, you know, I'm doing the work right along with everybody that I'm sharing this with. So I've had, boy, I don't know how long these patterns have been there, probably since my early childhood. And if we go into another realm, possibly even past life stuff, possibly stuff that I took on from my family, from my parents, even from my grandmother, who has been appearing to me as a guide recently. So, you know, if you think about that, I'm 51 now, and, you know, say these patterns got established when I was in those early childhood years, that means, you know, for over 40 years that these have been playing over and over and over in my head. It's a long time. And those patterns just become very familiar. They're very ingrained. I talk about this in workshops, how if you know anyone who's ever suffered from depression, that's a really good example of that, patterns that repeat and repeat and repeat, that we can't we have a hard time breaking out of that pattern of thinking. So, all that to say that I am working very actively on it. The first thing that I started doing was, at the end of every day, reviewing my day and the things that happened in that day and how I felt and the thoughts that came up. And once I started doing that, first of all, it's not an easy thing to do. Self-awareness is just, it's a tricky thing. So, but I started doing that to the best of my abilities. And even though I don't think I was catching nearly everything that was going on in that arena of my mind, I did increase my awareness enough that I started to notice things when they were happening. So especially around, something as simple as I'm taking a lot of supplements now for the infection that I'm healing from the Lyme infection. And so I'm always going to this one shelf in the kitchen that has all my vitamin supplements and my herbal remedies and everything. And every day, I use some of it and I go, oh, I'm running out. That's my mantra. I'm running out. And that's it. That's where it is. I'm running out, and then it might turn into, oh, I don't have the money to get more. Oh, this is so expensive. How am I ever going to heal if I can't afford these supplements? Oh my gosh, it just like cascades and tumbles and pours forth. But becoming aware of it has been really helpful. Another thing that's been really helpful is, I've never been part of Alcoholics Anonymous or Al-Anon, but I really wish there were such a thing for people who didn't have an obvious addiction, because the tenets that are set forth in AA, from what I've learned from people I'm close with who have benefited from it, plus the fact that the way it's set up, that it's a community support and it's free, my gosh, and you get a mentor, oh my gosh, right? Like, how much money do you and I all think about that we have to spend on our own self-improvement? Oh, if we want help, we've got to, pay someone to coach us. Crazy. So wouldn't it be wonderful if there were an Alcoholics Anonymous for all of us? But that's sort of a tangent. The thing that I love about it and that I've incorporated into my own life is giving those thoughts that are unhelpful, in my case, the thoughts of low self-worth, running out, fear of not having enough, lack, all that. Giving that up to a greater power, so that when those thoughts arise, which they still do, I am now recognizing them, not all the time, but more often than I was. And when I recognize them, saying, okay, I don't know what to do about this. This has been with me my whole life, and I have not been able to figure out how to solve this. So I'm turning this over to the universe. I've even, oh my gosh, I never thought this would happen. I've even started working with angels. I know, right? People who know me would think this is crazy, but I've come to realize that it's all one thing. These things that I have come to feel and understand about the nature of our world, the nature of consciousness, the nature of non-physical being. We're all talking about the same thing. And isn't it ironic, because we have wars and people die fighting each other over their beliefs, but there is one source. There is one source of life. There is one loving source. So through this process of lots of reading and talking with other people, I've come to feel that very strongly and deeply. So when I was doing some work around my healing from this infection, and at the back of this book I was reading, this book by Anthony William, who calls himself the medical medium, he had a section on creativity, okay, as being an amazing thing to help with staying present and releasing stress and heal. But he also had a section on working with angels. And I was completely open to it, where in the past I had judgments. I had so many judgments about Christianity, world religions that are, pushy. And so all that to say, when I feel these thoughts arise that I have not been able to control on my own, that I've not been able to solve, that I've not been able to release, that have been clinging to me, that have been controlling me, and have been forming decisions that I've made and causing me to act in certain ways, I turn that over to that other power, that higher power. It may be God for you. You may work with angels. It may be Jesus Christ is who you work with. You may be the universe, Gaia, whatever that greater source is, however you name it. So that's been extremely helpful. So I'm trying to think if there's other pieces to this. Oh, so another thing that came recently is a mantra, really. And it's come through from many, many different sources and really does speak specifically for me to this issue of self-worth, but I think it applies to many of the fears and concerns and anxieties that we have. And that is to just simply say to yourself, I am enough. I was working with another healer last week, and she was talking about the idea of enoughness, which is a wonderful term. I can't remember where she said that, who coined it or where she discovered it. But so that came through last week, and then this week someone shared on a Facebook group that I'm part of a wonderful, wonderful video by a hypnotherapist who I will try to remember to post the link down here. It'll probably go out in my newsletter too, because I was really, really impressed with this woman. And she too is just talking about the power of the mind and that what we think really creates our reality, which is the message that I think we're all hearing more and more and is being studied more and more. So this mantra of just saying I am enough. So I took my paint pen and I wrote it on the mirror in my bathroom upstairs, and then I used Post-it notes and I posted them in other places. I posted it on my computer because I'm still in front of my computer a lot. And of course, I will paint about it. I am enough. I am enough. It's a very powerful thing, and I think even more interestingly, to pair saying a mantra like that with something like EFT, which is that tapping technique, could be even more powerful to help retrain yourself. So if you've not heard of tapping, it's a wonderful process that helps. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. And I interviewed a woman named Leah Wentworth, who is a friend and colleague. And that's available on my website or on my YouTube channel. You can see it. And she takes me through the process of using EFT on what I thought would be sort of a safe topic. And I end up having a very big emotional release. So it's a very wonderful technique. So I've been incorporating a lot of these things that I've learned through interviews and all the stuff that I'm reading in books now. It's an interesting time of year. I don't know if you all feel this too, but here we are. We're really close to the winter solstice. And we're only a couple days away. And it seems that I think back to 2 years ago, which is when I began this journey. And it started in August, September. And it spiraled and spiraled and spiraled and spiraled within. I just kept on focused on my pledge of not making any major decisions until I was unified, until I was listening to the voice of intuition. Your intuition is your connection to the divine. It is the connection to the source of love and inspiration and passion within you. And here I am 2 years later, and it's very similar experience of spiraling in, and it feels really, really good. And it's also a time of taking in a lot of knowledge. It can be very overwhelming, and if any of you are on your computers at all, you're probably seeing a lot of information come in. There are people who are promoting their end of year programs or their new 2019 programs, start your year right. And this mantra of I am enough is what's helping me now to get through that, because I felt those pulls like, oh, I should be signing up for Melissa Griffith's, whatever her program is called, to help with launching my business. Oh, I should sign up for Todd Herman's. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, there may be a time for that, but this is not the time. And I just know it's not the time. I have other avenues I'm pursuing, and I don't want to sign up for something right now that I am not going to have the space for, because there's really only so much space that we have in our lives. We have a lot of demands on us, in addition to our jobs, in addition to our families, in addition to our own self-care processes, whether that's going to the gym, you know, going to your yoga class, doing meditation, painting, you know, all of that takes up space. And I don't want to spread myself too thin. I feel like last year I did spread myself a little too thin. So in going into 2019, in addition to staying present and aware of this self-worth issue, releasing that, giving that over to the universe to help me with, and feeling that I am enough, I am going to bring my focus very keenly onto the areas in my life and my business that I feel the most inspired to. So I think that is about all I have to say. It's really nice to have used the mantra, I am enough, to convince myself that I can get in front of this camera again. Quite honestly, I think I will share one more thing. In this spiral of lack of self-worth, I had stopped doing some things for myself that, you know, you would think would be normal, like getting your hair cut, going to get your teeth cleaned from the dentist. And seeing the changes in my body that have taken place because of this infection have also impacted my feelings. You know, I look at myself and my face has changed. Because I was doing a lot of videos before I found out that I had this chronic infection, before it flared up and caused a lot of changes to happen. I have evidence of what I looked like. And it's really kind of sobering to look at those and go, oh wow, yeah, look at how much, even though I was not well then, I was not as ravaged. You know, my body has been through a lot in the past few months. So it's been hard to consider coming on to the camera and speaking. So it's good to be back. And thank you who are watching and the people who will watch in the future. And enjoy your winter solstice. Enjoy your family. Remember, you are enough. You are enough. You've always been enough. You were born enough, and you deserve what you desire. Namaste, my love to you.